Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another episode of our Let's Talk Arsenal tier list series. I'm hoping that the audio is fine now. For those that are wondering what I'm going on about, we basically did a stream 5 minutes ago and there was no audio at all. Well, the audio that was there was just not good enough. I'm hoping that it's cool, it's sweet. Let me know in the chat box if I am sounding as dulcet as I usually do. Good stuff. It sounds like it is working, which is great. This is our transfer tier list series. We've done one of these already. This is the second one of the summer. The idea behind this is we're going to be looking at players that have been linked, suggested, talked about around the idea of joining Arsenal in their central midfield position. And we're going to be ranking them with the help of you guys as well. It's all about opinion. It's all about differing views on this as well. So I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts and feelings around the central part of the midfield. We kick off, though, by telling you about how this works. Now, the first thing, obviously, what some people say is that I have the colours in the wrong order. And I say to that, you're wrong, because Arsenal is a red. We play in red. And so, therefore, the red should be at the top. It is not because I completely messed up the order of the colours. It's not because of that. It was entirely intentional, and Arsenal being red should be at the top. So I'm hoping that explains any kind of criticisms about my tier list colours. But basically how this works is we're going to run through a lot of different players that you can all see, of course, on the screen already. These are players that have sometimes been linked to Arsenal. These, in some cases, have been very strongly linked to Arsenal, and these are other cases where they've been offhand linked to Arsenal. Now, there are some that you may not think are on this list. If you are wondering why Yves Bissouma is not on this list, Google his name and that will give you the answer. That is all I'm going to say. But we're not going to get into that because it was pointless going into the Bissouma side of things because I couldn't give you an accurate feeling about it because we don't know the outcome of the situation with Bissouma. As I said, if you want to know about that, Google it. There's actually a new update on his situation today, worth going and giving a read for. Anyway, let's go to the different categories. We've got Do It Now at the top, which is obviously top tier. Absolutely should sign them immediately. Get them in. Why on earth are we waiting to try and not get them in at this stage? Very Good Buy is something that I think is, not as top tier, but I would be very, very pleased to see Arsenal sign, and I think would be a very good acquisition, but certainly wouldn't be what I feel to be anyway the upper echelons of Arsenal's targets for that position. The I'm happy section is the I'm content. I didn't particularly put them at the top of my list. They weren't someone I was really talking about, but now they've signed. I'm not all that bothered by the fact that they have. I'm not disappointed. I'm not overjoyed. I'm just happy with them as a possible signing. The I would steer clear is typically for a player. This is more kind of personal. This is the, I know some people like this player, but I particularly would not go anywhere near them. And lastly, the stay away from here section is for it's pretty self-explanatory. Stay away from here. And I'm pretty confident in saying that most people would think that is the right category to name it. So there's your 5 different categories. For those people that are wondering where certain players are, I'm sure the chat box will tell you why certain players are not there. It may be that at the end you've got some suggestions that we should add to this list, but we're going to kick off today's show. What we do is obviously we throw them up onto the screen and then we get you guys to throw in your comments and your thoughts. We kick off with Arsenal's number 1 target, Youri Tielemans. Get your thoughts. Where should we be putting Youri Tielemans on this list? Leicester City midfielder, Belgium international, 25 years of age, £25 million supposedly is what he would cost. Top of the list of players that we would like to see Arsenal. For me, he goes in the very good buy section. I think at 25 years of age, Premier League proven, lots of experience. He wasn't always my first pick, and that's why I haven't put him in the do it now section. But he is certainly a player that has so much quality about his game, would certainly progress us in that position. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box. Wow, it's already pretty split, which is great. Alex says, very goodbye. And thank you, Alex, by the way, for helping me out with the sound check. Safiso, I'm happy with this. Bibu says, very goodbye. Kevin says, very good. Henkeho says, top of the list. Nico says, buy it now. Kian says, do it now. NSW says, do it now. There's a lot of do it nows, which is, I think you've been very sold on this idea of getting Tielemans in, which I like, because hopefully it's something we will see happen this summer. Jimmy says, very goodbye. Omar says, goodbye. Paul says, very goodbye indeed. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Warren says Youri helped Spurs. Not intentionally, we should say. Akshat with a little bit more explanation. We love it when you guys put a little bit more reasoning behind your choice. Says, do it now. Amazing talent, way better price than others. Would be a great creative force going forwards. Plus, I think his defensive issues are exaggerated because of some clips on Twitter. I think you've summed it up, Akshat, very well indeed. Let's go to our next option. Ruben Neves, Wolves central midfielder. Wolves supposedly want upwards of 70 million to get a deal done for Ruben Neves. Portuguese international, 24, 25, again, years of age. Good from outside the box of his shooting. Very direct with their passing. Good with the ball at his feet. Technically, for me, I think he borders on the very good buy. The problem is why I wouldn't put him in the very good buy is that price tag. That price tag is just far, far, far too high. 70 million pounds for Neves is just insane. I don't want to spend 70 million pounds on Neves. In the case of some of these players, we won't know the ultimate price tags, but for Neves, we certainly do. But I would put him in the I'm happy section because, you know, he is a very good player. He certainly would be a good buy if he was to be brought into the team, but it's just that price tag. Let's go. Not at 70 million, says Richie. Steer clear. Iron Cup says, I would steer clear. Not enough of an improvement on Xhaka and a very expensive fee. Alex says, I'm happy. However, I think the price tag makes him not worth the extra money. Hitesh says, steer clear because of the price tag. Safiso says, very good buy, but with how much they want, I would steer clear. It's interesting, again, how this kind of economics of the deal affects how people feel about them. Brad says, happy with this. Quicker, yes, but similar to Xhaka and too expensive. And the chat says he also mugged off the club and players, not what we want. Yeah, he is part of the very well-established celebration police as well, which probably does count against him. Going into Alexander Zinchenko, Ukrainian international, a very versatile player, but supposedly would be looked at for Arsenal in central midfield, not in the left-back position that he's played quite a lot at Manchester City. I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. Because I think he's a player that certainly will. Apologies, I'm going to take a fair few drinks throughout this show. There's a lot of talking and a lot of energy that needs to be had. So plenty of drinks. Not that type, though. But Zinchenko, I am putting this guy into the do it now section. You might call me mad. Now, let me explain why. Now, whilst I think that Tielemans obviously is probably a better player than Zinchenko is right now. He's got more experience, more regularity in his play. He's got a more established kind of position. Zinchenko offers Arsenal so much if we were to get him in for the 20 to 25 million pound bracket that we could ultimately get him for, it seems. Gives us cover at left back, gives us a cover at number 6, gives us a cover at number 8, can actually add something going forwards. Zinchenko would be one of the smartest signings I think Arsenal could possibly do for the money that he would cost at around the 20 million pound figure. Whilst him and Tielemans would be a great two options for Arsenal this summer, he goes in my do it now section for the midfield. Do it now definitely, says Fonzie. Kevin says, buy it now, just great benefits. Pranjal says, I want Zinchenko. I like him very much, versatile too. He says, though, he's another Ainsley. Wow, that's harsh. So harsh. Do it now, says Omar. Safiso says, very good buy as a midfielder. I'm happy as fullback cover. Morgie says, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. Do you get my drift? Just so you're happy, Morgie, is what you're saying. NSW says, Zinchenko is a major go. Brad says, Zinchenko, do it now, can cover different positions. Rail says, do it now, covers 2 positions. Sook says, bruh, Zinchenko. I love this. This is the thing, is the people disagreeing about the players, and that's what this creates discussion. If you're watching this on playback, make sure you drop a comment in the comment section if you agree with these picks or not. Trevor says, value for money, get him now. Stephen says, get Zinchenko, class performer. AFC Wilson says, surely not that cheap. Well, the reports are 20 to 25 million is what he would cost, and City are willing to move on from him this summer. Let's move on to the next one. Napoli central midfielder, Spanish international Fabian Ruiz. Price tag reported initially about 16 million pounds because he only has a year left on his deal. However, there has been later reports that's increased to about 25 million euros, so about 22 million pounds. Fabian Ruiz is a left-footed, rangy, good player that can play in a 6, can play at the 8, can be creative, really good passer, good technically on the ball, elegant in the way that he moves the ball forwards, and as I've mentioned, very well priced. For me, he would go in the very good buy section. I think you'll see this guy linked with some of the bigger clubs around Europe this summer. Real Madrid have been interested. Manchester United have been interested. Barcelona have been interested. Juventus have been interested in Fabian Ruiz. He's a very, very technically gifted player, and I think he would be a very good buy for Arsenal. Malcolm says, do it now. Best player on the board. Malcolm is a big Fabian Ruiz fan. Luke, though, would just be happy with this one. Daniel says, Ruiz, very good buy. But Zeus says, steer clear. This is what I mean. I'd love for you guys to give some explanation as well behind your choices, because why you think steer clear in comparison to, say, some of the others, I'm really intrigued by. So if you can get your explanations into the chat box with your tags, they're more likely to be read out. Fonzie says, Fabian is a very good buy. It's actually crazy how cheap these midfielders are. Doug says, good buy. Do you like him better than Tielemans? Good question, Doug. The thing is, the difference between the two is I just think that Tielemans' Premier League experience gives him that edge. I also think that the age is very good at 25. I know Fabian's, 24? I think they're very similar. But just bringing that 25-year-old Premier League player, Belgian international, has leadership qualities as captain at a young age as well. I think he just edges it over the two, Tielemans. But Fabian, is still a very, very good player in my view. He's basically Xhaka, but where every one of his qualities are far better, in my view. I think he upgrades Xhaka significantly and doesn't have those crazy mistakes that we have seen from previous Xhaka eras, as we have seen before. Let's go into the next one. Now, this is a very, very interesting one that you may or may not know too much about. Ibrahim Sangaré. My French pronunciation is not great. Just the pronunciation, not the nationality, of course. But Sangaré is a player that was linked to Arsenal previously for, I want to say, Toulouse. He then moved to PSV in the Eredivisie and has done very, very well indeed. I don't know how much he would cost, but he did cost, I believe, PSV in the 15 to 20 million mark, around that. So I imagine he would cost more. Plays more as a 6, is more of that defensive kind of player. Can I imagine, or you could slightly play him slightly further forward if you wanted him to, but I think he sits better, more disciplined. I think Sangaré is an outstanding player from the very few bits I've seen of him. I'd put him into the very good buy. I would be tempted to put him into the do it now section, but it's again that Premier League experience that's just lacking that makes me be a little bit more cautious about throwing him into that top tier list. Let's see what you guys have said. Sangaré, apparently Don. Thank you for that. I appreciate the help with any pronunciations, of course. Iron Cubs is very good buy. I should have signed him from Toulouse. Already too good for the Eredivisie. He'd cost about 40 million according to Dutch sources. Thank you for that info. 40 million quid. Again, another reason maybe why very good buy is probably the right section. Safiso says very good buy. I've watched him play for the Ivory Coast and he is a solid player. Nico said, very good buy. Solid midfielder, can destroy and distribute. I love that. Like, the alliteration is great. Probably would go for 35 to 40. Harsh says, good player. Some physicality in midfield would be good. Deep Lemon says, honestly, I've never watched him play, but he has 35 million euro release clause. Interesting indeed. Puria says, we definitely need a backup for Partey. He's injury prone and he's a very important player in the midfield. And that's one of my top priorities. Perhaps Sangaré would be that option for you. Stephen, though, says steer clear of him. Don't think he's Premier League level. Interesting indeed. Some deviation with you guys in the chat box. Houssem Aouar. Mr. Bailey Keogh, if he's watching this show, will tell you all about my love of Houssem Aouar. Obviously linked to Arsenal very heavily over the past 3 years, less so this year than any other, but there were still some links that persisted into this window. For me, I would steer clear. I'm not going to put him into the stay away from here section because I know that there are a lot of people that really like Houssem Aouar. So I'm not going to do Bailey that dirty and put him into the stay away from here section. I will put him in the I would steer clear because I know from my personal experience, I would personally just steer clear. However, I am very interested to see what you guys are saying in the chat box because it may sway my view of this. Let's see. Aria says, do it now. Buria says, bye, Houssem. Next. Kevin says, stay away because of the stories. Rancis says, stay away from Aouar. Temi says, stay away from Houssem Aouar. Big Fat Savlaki says, stay away from Aouar just because I'm tired of listening to him. Bibu says, steer clear. Don't listen to Bailey. Well, that's getting clipped. Definitely sending that through. Avi says, I'll stay away from here. We had enough divas in the Emirates era. Of course, his price tag makes him a little bit more attractive. It only costs about 15 million euros, apparently. But as I have pointed out, there's probably a big reason why that is the case. The Socks guy says, I'll stay away. He doesn't have the mentality to win when the team goes behind. We'd actually get worse. This is something that I've pointed out. He's too much of a passenger for me to really kind of get behind the idea of Aouar as a possible option. Akshat says, I would steer clear. He looks so smooth on the ball and highlights are amazing, but he's a luxury player that's good when the team is good. Yeah, absolutely. This comment coming up once again. Vinny, good to have you in the chat box, my friend. Stay away from here. Ozil 2.0. I'd take him out on a boat and throw him overboard with an anchor around. Jesus, Vinny. That's a little bit harsh. That's a little bit harsh. I don't think that's not an option. I think that would be a very, very far down the list. I don't think it's not on the list. Jeez. So intense. Let's go to Renato Sanches, Portuguese central midfielder. Lille looks, I must admit, like he is going to AC Milan at this stage. So that is very, very important to point out. However, say that was to fall apart, some kind of, just crazy situation where it fell apart. Another Bailey favourite. Injuries, yeah. Injuries are a big, big problem with Renato Sanches. I would, again, steer clear. We might as well have just called this the Bailey tier. In fact, what I might do is call this the Bailey tier. Yeah, I'm actually going to change this. This is what we call now the Bailey tier, the I would steer clear. Renato Sanches goes, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, go and watch us on the Arsenal Way, by the way. Link to the Arsenal Way is always in the description. It's our other channel that I do as part of my work with Football.London with Bailey. It's just injuries is far, far too much for me to ever commit to Renato Sanches. He plays less than half a season. You just can't get on board with it, I'm afraid. I wasn't born ready, says, too late to decide. Seems injury prone, but definitely a decent mentality and silky on the ball, but too unreliable regardless. Morgie says, I would steer clear. Injuries look super flash in his clips, but I want someone solid. Hitesh says, stay away from here. I'm done with the injury-prone and inconsistent players. Iron Cub says, if you could tell me that he wouldn't get injured, I'd take him over anyone else on this list, but that's not possible, and so therefore it's a steer clear. And it's fair. If Renato Sanches had a clear or a clean bill of health, bar, the odd injury that every player gets, I would probably agree and put him in the very goodbye section. But I just can't get over. I just can't get over the injuries. It's just too much of a block, and I just can't do it. Matt says, I'd sign him just to see Bailey lose his mind. Unreal indeed. Next one. Ilkay Gündoğan, German international, Manchester City central midfielder, 32 years of age, would cost a reasonable figure, probably around 15 to 20 million pounds. I may not agree with a lot of you on here, but I would put him into, I border with putting him into the do it now section. I'm going to put him in the very goodbye section. Oh, am I going to? Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to put him in the do it now section. I'm going to do it. I'm pushing the boat out. Do it now. Ilkay Gündoğan is a world-class central midfielder. He's 32 years of age, which I know is going to be counting against him for so many people. And yes, I know I've waxed lyrical about the idea of moving on from players like the Willians, the Luizes, the Czechs of this world. But Ilkay Gündoğan is so different. And yes, he too has had some injury issues, which I know makes me look like the biggest hypocrite on earth. However, what I would say is that if Arsenal have the opportunity to add a genuinely world-class player to the team, you should be adding him to the team. And so if you can, Ilkay Gündoğan becomes so much more... is he 31? So I'm just seeing a comment in the chat box saying he's 31. Even better. I thought he's 31, will be 32 in October. But he is 31 until he turns 32. Very important to point that out. But just so good going forward, so good on the ball. A goal threat from midfield, which is really strong as well. But I just, no. Willian is not anywhere near comparable to me. And I, with respect, will say that is a lazy comparison because Gündoğan has done it year on year on year on year for Manchester City. Mohammed says, do it now. Perfect fit and what we need in midfield. Instant upgrade and an instant impact. I wasn't born ready, says, add to the shopping basket and next day delivery would bring so much experience. I love that. I love that so much that we're going to change the do it now section to the next day delivery section. Yes. See, this is what we do. We're going to gradually get our nicknames for these different sections. Next day delivery. I love that. Drew says, do it now. Wanted him since his Dortmund days. Keenan says, goodbye, but he is getting up there in age and his injuries are getting more frequent. Stephen says, Gündoğan is class. Get him now. Cubic says, do it now. Winning mentality and experience that we certainly lack. And lastly, let's go to Dakarai, who says Zinchenko in Do It Now is a mad hot take. Just a James Milner. Good for the squad. Doesn't change the first 11. Oh, that is harsh. And if you scroll back to see where we've put our Do It Nows, you'll actually see that the agreement was actually quite strong for him. Lucas Paquetá, Brazilian central midfielder for Lyon, can play centre mid, can play cam, can play second striker, could probably play in goal if you wanted him to. He is quite the versatile player, is Lucas Paquetá. Really strong talent, has allowed his career to absolutely come on leaps and bounds. What even is the leaps and bounds? How did I struggle with that so much? You know, it's getting late in the day. 24 years of age, solid goal scorer, solid creator, can play, as I say, in so many different areas of the pitch. If you can get Lucas Paquetá into your club, I would do it now. This is the type of signing where a 60 to 70 million price tag is worth it. This is where I don't subscribe to the Ruben Neves argument, because Lucas Paquetá is just on that level above Ruben Neves. He's bordering on, in my view, from what I've seen of him, that world-class level of player. Brazilian international, as I said, getting into that team is no mean feat by any shadow of a doubt. So he is a do-it-now for me. But I imagine that maybe a lot of people will put him into the very good buy, or maybe just that I'm happy because of possibly the price tag. And I'm seeing, yes, a lot of do-it-nows and very good buys. Iron Cub says, Paquetá, do it now. Could be another Guimarães situation. Absolute animal. Very versatile and works hard. Yes, a really nice description there. Drew says, Paquetá, know nothing about him, but he's a beast on FIFA and would probably be a very good buy. Oh, the FIFA. That's the first comment about FIFA. It was always going to happen. Always going to get one of them in. Noah says, we passed on Bruno. I'm not on for Aouar, but get Paquetá now. We need more Brazilians in the team. It's good to see there's so much, there's so much positivity about a lot of these players that we've been linked to. That said, the link with Paquetá is very light. Only I've seen, I think, the Chronicle Live has linked him with Arsenal, so it's not a heavy link, unfortunately, by any means. And Newcastle, again, are linked heavily with him. James Ward-Prowse of Southampton, England international, 27 off the top of my head. I believe he is, 27, turns 28 in November. Would be quite costly because he is an England international and another Premier League player. You're probably looking at £50 million to get James Ward-Prowse in. But genuinely one of the most consistent midfielders in the Premier League and the most dangerous from set pieces. Would certainly, imagine James Ward-Prowse and Nicholas Jovar, our set piece coach, together. It would be a match made in heaven. I think, though, that the price slightly takes him away from that very good buy. When you can get a player like Youri Tielemans for 25 million, I'm not paying double for James Ward-Prowse. I'm just not. And so James Ward-Prowse goes in for me the I'm happy section. But, if he did arrive at Arsenal, as it says, I would be happy. He's a very, very good player. It would just be that price tag. I think that's what sets it off from me. Vinny says, I'm happy. Very good player going forward. He ain't leaving Southampton, though. He's a Letitia 2.0, which is a much more, or rather less dark comment from the last one, Vinny. Alex says, James Ward-Prowse should be in the level above. Do it now. Has so much more to offer and would give us an extra 5 to 10 goals a season. Anyone who says set piece merchant is an absolute muppet. Alex, look, I respect it. I understand where you're coming from. For me, it's the price tag in comparison to a player like Tielemans that puts me off. James Ward-Prowse, because I think on a level, they're very, very similar in terms of what they can add to the team. But, set pieces would be insane. Mohammed says, I'm happy, but apart from set pieces, is he really an upgrade for that price tag? I'm not necessarily sure. Andreas says, for 50, steer clear. Don't think he's necessarily an upgrade on Xhaka in open play. Aaron, though, very obviously just says, stay and clear off from here. It's very simple for Aaron. Milinković-Savić, Sergej Milinković-Savić of Lazio. I'm not going to put any more discussion around that. He's a do it now. There's no discussion for me. Milinković-Savić is, again, a world-class central midfielder that if Arsenal were to buy, and has been very, very, very loosely linked with Arsenal, next day delivery. Yeah, why am I saying do it now? It's the next day delivery tier. Get him into the club. He would be expensive. Don't care. He's great. It would, maybe it would take away from signing a versatile fullback, but if you can get in that world-class talent, it's got to be done. Sergej Milinković-Savić, how he is still at Lazio, I don't know. I do know. The reason why he's still at Lazio is because they've demanded a ridiculous fee, upwards of 80 odd million quid. I think that he would cost the 60s to 70s now. If he were to offer Lazio 60 to 70 million pounds, I think you could get him in. But unreal player. Absolutely unreal. Omar says, do it now. Absolute baller. Namdi says, do it now. Alex says, do it now. Ave says, Savić, do it now. World class. Simple as that. Iron Cub says, at the fee it would take to get him, it's a very good buy. Fonzie says, too expensive, but Milinković-Savić is genuinely a complete midfielder. Adedoyan says, do it now. Omar says, next day delivery. Beast mode, says DJ Assassin. Paul says, Milinković-Savić never coming to us. He's too good for us, but if he was an option, do it yesterday. Aaron says, Sergej Milinković-Savić, Arsenal should just go and buy him now. Ian, I agree with you. He's levels above everyone on this list. Just raw quality. Brilliant. Orkun Kökçü, the Feyenoord and Turkish international, although I think, is he now a Dutch international? I need to check that. I have a feeling he's let's have a quick check on who is he playing for. He's representing Turkey. I think he represented the Dutch at youth level, though, if I am right. He did indeed, all the way up until under 19s, and then switched to Turkish allegiance. He has scored 9 goals and 9 assists from centre midfield playing for Feyenoord this season, playing alongside Reiss Nelson. Arsenal have been linked in the past and linked again more loosely this summer. If you've not seen him, I'm not surprised. He's a very good talent. I would put him, though, in the I am happy section. I don't think he's on the level of a Fabian, a Sangaré, or a Tielemans, and certainly not in the do it now sections. But for those that may have watched him a bit more than me, and I've only seen a limited amount of what I've seen from him, you may disagree. Harvey says, I'm happy. Omar says, I'm happy. SJ just simply honestly answers, I don't know who he is, which is completely fair. Iron Cub says he has massively improved this year, has the leadership qualities Arteta appreciates, would not cost too much, absolute baller, runs the game when you watch him live. Pretty sure he's off to Roma, though, would be a very good buy. And this is what I mean. For someone that's watched him more, can probably appreciate him more and probably put him somewhere else in this list. Let's go to our next one. Real Betis midfielder Guido Rodríguez, Argentinian international, 27, nearly 28, I think. Maybe already have turned 28. Quick check on that. He is 28, turned 28 in April. He's been linked to Arsenal in the past. He's been linked to Arsenal this summer. Real Betis need to sell. They need to make money. So he would be able to get him on a very reasonable price. I'd reckon around 20 million euros, even maybe less than that, might be able to get Guido Rodríguez into the club. I'd put him into the I'm happy section. I think he's a very good player. I like what he brings to the team. I like his versatility, his verticality. I like his strength. He runs that Betis team, a Betis team that have impressed a lot and obviously won the Copa del Rey in Spain last season. He was an absolute metronome for them at times and certainly would add more of that physicality that Arsenal have lacked. I imagine not many people would have watched too much of him, but for me, he's a very, very good player. The age is maybe an issue for some, but I think maybe the experience in central midfield is something that Arsenal need. Fon says, I'd be happy with Guido, although his mobility is an issue. Kevin says, where are you getting these names from? They've been linked to us. What could I say? Guido is too slow, says Doug. And Adedoyan says, I have no idea who he is. Iron Cub says, very good buy. Not a flashy player himself, but he would allow the players around him to do a lot more and would improve the team overall. Omar says, watched Rodríguez in the Copa America last summer and was impressed. Very good buy. and he watches a lot of La Liga too. There's not too many people put in the long comments, which I can understand because I'm not sure that too many people have watched all that much of him. Next one is Tyler Adams from RB Leipzig, USA men's national team captain. Already putting himself about in the Bundesliga with RB Leipzig, can play central midfield, can play right midfield, can play right back. Another very, very versatile player. I like Tyler Adams a lot. Has a £32.5 million buyout clause unless he's signed a renewal in any time soon. But I'm putting him in the very good buy section. I like Tyler Adams a lot. I like his versatility. I like his energy. I like everything about him. And I think he would elevate that position. He's still got plenty of development still to go, still in his early 20s, and I think would be a very, very good addition to the team. Good Boy says, I'm happy. He's just not an upgrade. I do disagree. I think he can add so much more than what the current crop of central midfielders already have. Omar, though, admittedly says not seen him play. A lot of our North American listeners, I'm sure, would have watched plenty more of him and will be maybe slightly biased. Hopefully not. Shrew says, hi, Tom. Tyler Adams is a great option and the release clause is a no-brainer. Drew says, Tyler Adams is a right-sided Zinchenko. It's a very good way to describe him. He's got that versatility to be able to play right back and right wing back as well. Dom says, would make a lot of sense with his versatility, especially next season with a lot of games and constant change of chance of injuries. Quality player, young and full of potential. Yoki, thank you so much for the donation. That's really kind of you. What's your highest bid for Jesus or Tielemans? Jesus, I wouldn't go over the 50 million euros, I don't think. And Tielemans, I wouldn't go over 30 million pounds for him. Iron Cub says, steer clear. Don't think he's worth his fee. Never been that impressed by him at Leipzig. I wasn't born ready, says his versatility adds a lot and wouldn't be a demanding player for game time. First class postage for sure. Our last player on this list is Melo of Juventus. Now he goes into the stay away from here section. Now this may seem to you harsh, and I'll tell you my reasons for why he's a stay away from here. The first one is utterly and entirely insensical and selfish. I ain't giving Juventus no money. Just putting it out there. I ain't giving Juventus a penny. I don't care. I hate them. I hate Juventus at this stage. I just hate them. I really, really do. I wouldn't go anywhere near any Juventus player unless it was any way to screw them over. And frankly, Melo doesn't do that. I think that the players on this list are better. And I think that Melo, for what he would offer, just isn't an upgrade. You know, I look at this list. Zinchenko, I think, could be a potential upgrade on Xhaka on that left-hand side. Gündoğan, definitely an upgrade. Paquetá, definitely an upgrade. Savić, an upgrade. Tyler Adams, I think, upgrades that right-hand side option and could potentially be an upgrade in the future. Sangaré, the same. Fabian is definitely an upgrade on Xhaka. Tielemans, I think, also gives us upgrades in the middle. Ruben Neves to James Ward-Prowse, questionable, but it's that Premier League experience and that set piece that gives him the edge. Orkun Kökçü, I think, is a great talent, as people have pointed out in the chats. Guido Rodríguez brings you that experience, and I think also adds quality. But no, just no. Just not for me. It's just not for me. I'm sorry. Stay away. A very big nope. He isn't better than Xhaka. Sharif says, hi, Tom. Would you say that Arthur has stagnated? Yes, probably. Probably would. I would have taken him in January for 6 months. I would have taken him in January on a 6-month loan deal to kind of bulk out, you know, that midfield, but not now. Daz says, I'm the only one who thinks Zinchenko won't get into any other top 10 Prem team as a left back or as a centre mid. So why would we want him? I disagree with you, Daz, because he plays fairly regularly for Man City. I think he would play in plenty of top 10 Premier League sides. I think he may prove you wrong if he does indeed arrive at Arsenal. Dakarai says, Gündoğan is legit a Willian type signing. Legit. You said all the reasons why he's a terrible signing. It's like any City player is a buy or not, considering that pet system and the good players help. I just think that's so harsh. So harsh. Horace says, what about some others like Coop Miners, Pogba, Tolisso, Wijnaldum, De Jong, Moreno, Basuma, Decore, Grealish. I didn't put Decore on there, to be fair. That's a good shout. I probably would have put him in the I'm happy section. Grealish is off to Fiorentina. Calvin Phillips hasn't really been linked. And Didi hasn't been linked. Douglas Luiz is a good shout as well, but I probably would have just put him in the I'm happy section. Gallagher, Soucek, Pellegrini, and Benassa have all not been linked. Pogba's not. Toliso's not. Wijnaldum, again, not since January. And to be honest, none of the others fit on the list. So we didn't put them on there. But it's fair. And if you want to comment in the comment section below players that you think we haven't put onto this list, then do leave them in the comment section below. What we do to finish off these streams is we put a quick poll into the chat box saying, do you agree with the majority of Tom's picks? So that's not, I'm assuming that it's not going to be like for like, and that's why we always do the majority. Just see how close we've managed to get this to the wider feeling about all of these players. Let's round off our list whilst you guys vote on that poll in the chat box. The stay away from here section, the Spurs section, if you will, is an Arta Melo in there. Just not for me. The I would steer clear, aka the Bailey tier, is, I feel so harsh now, but it's only that it's not because I would steer clear of Bailey. I just want to leave that out there. It's because of the players that are habituating. Is that the word? That tier, Houssem, Aouar, Renato, Sanches, just I would steer clear. The I'm happy section, Ruben Neves, James Ward-Prowse, Orkun, Kökçü, and Guido Rodríguez. The very good buyer section, Tielemans, Fabian, Ruiz, Ibrahim, Sangaré, and Tyler Adams. And the do it now next day delivery section is the Alexander Zinchenko, Ilkay, Gündoğan, Lucas Paquetá, and Milinković-Savić. Let's see on the initial reaction to the voting poll. 88% so far have said yes. Wow, I'm actually quite happy with that. 12%. I'm very, very happy with that. Fair play. It seems we have got it fairly spot on. Majority of the picks have been pretty similar to what you've said. There's over 600 of you watching. I hope you've enjoyed this really engaging show. I'm going to try and do more of these. Of course, it may change throughout the window. Different positions. We'll probably end up doing the versatile fullback option one next, and then perhaps a wide forward option as well. That's the one that we've still got to do as well. So there's plenty more positions that we'll be covering. I'll try and do one of these each week, so you'll be able to get a new one next week, maybe again on Wednesday. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed today's stream, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for the latest updates on Arsenal's transfers. I will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.